Oi, 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 everyone. Dylan here, hoping you're unclenching your jaw and drinking some water. Today, we're going to be discussing and breaking down the new killer, the Cenobite AKA Pinhead. Pinhead is one of the most unique and complex killers in the Dead by Daylight roster, so let's not waste any time. Let's go over the overview. Pinhead is a 115% movement speed killer with a 32-meter terror radius, and obviously he is a tall boy. His ability is Summons of Pain. This is where you hold the ability button to send a portal out. This acts similar to like a Nurse Blink, especially with the plaid flannel. The longer you hold the button, the further out it goes, but looking down can shorten the cast distance. Once you spawn the portal, tap the ability button to spawn a chain. Hit a survivor with said chain, and it will cause other chains to spawn and bind that survivor. Survivors that are bound by chains are incapacitated and are unable to work on gens, do totems, use their items, etc. They're also hindered and cannot sprint, forcing them to slow vault if they choose to do so. The Summons of Pain does not slow the Cenobite down when holding the portal and can be cancelled pre-cast and even after casting. His next ability is a passive called the Lament Configuration, aka the Box. The Lament Configuration passively builds up to what is called a chain hunt, filling the chain meter that is around the survivor portraits. Unlike Freddy's sleep meter, everybody's portrait meter fills the same speed. This takes about 90 seconds to fill all the way up, but add-ons can reduce this to 75 seconds in total. If a chain hunt starts, chains will spawn in bursts of 3, about 3 seconds apart from each other, not from breaking the chain but from spawn, and there's about a 9 to 12 second delay between bursts. To prevent or stop a chain hunt, one must grab the Lament Configuration. Survivors can see the Lament Configuration box aura anytime it has spawned, even from the beginning of the match, and blindness statuses do not affect this at all, so rip Hex Third Seal. Picking up the box prevents chain hunts for all users except the box holder, and you can see that their meter continues to climb from where it was. The box holder still can be chain hunted, and while holding the box, survivors are also oblivious and cannot hear terror radiuses. Survivors can also attempt to solve the box. This action takes about 6 seconds and does have skill checks, and if successfully solved, will despawn the box and pause all chain hunts for 45 seconds. During attempted solving, the Cenobite is notified of the survivor's location via heartbeat and killer instinct, and if looking in the direction of the notification, can warp to that survivor. While warping, the box-wielding survivor is held in place for a short duration. Typically, the Cenobite will spawn within 10 to 12 meters of this survivor, and there is no distance limit or minimum for the teleport function to work. At this point, the box also despawns for 45 seconds, resetting all chain hunts and pausing further progress for the duration. If the killer finds the box, he can pick it up to start a chain hunt, but note that he cannot see the location or aura of the box. When picked up by the killer, all survivors will scream and be held in place by 3 chains. There will be a short delay, and then a chain hunt will start. The box spawns 10 seconds after this event. If the Cenobite downs the survivors holding the box, the exact same process happens. Woo! That's a lot of the ability. I hope you stuck around this far. Now, when it comes to strategies and how to use the abilities, Pinhead has a lot going on as well. So stick with me. This is everything that I have found to be true when playing as him and against him. And we're going to go ahead and start with the Summon of Pain, the Chain Grapple. This ability takes time to get used to with regards to the portal placement and aim. It isn't particularly effective or useful at incredibly long ranges, so I would generally just avoid that. Placing the portal can be tricky, but in my experience, the best practice seems to be placing the portal directly under the survivor, or just a tad bit in front of them if they're seeming to run in a straight line. When the portal spawns, you'll be able to hit your ability button instantly and chain the survivor nearly immediately. Because Pinhead stops moving once the portal has already been cast, it's really important to learn how to quickly throw the ability out so you don't lose distance, especially if you're trying to, gain that distance on your opponent if they're holding W. This is a little bit less important if the survivor is at a loop with no intention of leaving, or if you've blocked their would-be escape route, okay? Aim is also a semi-important factor here. Now, this is primarily speculative, so take this with a grain of salt, but there seems to be a benefit to sending a portal a little bit further out to give chains a slightly smaller chance of being easily broken on the environment. Here is a slight example. Sending a portal here results in at least one chain that will nearly instantly be broken as a survivor rounds the corner, as opposed to sending it slightly further, where at least the initial chain has more staying power. Keep in mind the 2 additional chain spawns are basically random, so this doesn't carry much weight, but it is worth considering. All in all, this isn't a make or break situation. As Pinhead continues to be played, we'll see how this idea ultimately shakes out. Now, the ability, the Summon of Pain, particularly shines at short pallet loops, specifically if you're standing where the pallet is and the survivor is on the other side of said loop, right? Similar to how you would think about a pig dash. You want to dash from the inside where the pallet is, not from the outside opposite the pallet. Chaining the survivors when they're in this outside location gives them very few options and often makes it very difficult for them to break the chains. It allows you almost always to get a free hit. Be aware to try and not chain them, like I said, when they're near the pallets, because they can still throw the pallets while chained, giving them a little bit more of a clean escape. Large loops like Shack and Jungle Gyms are still pain points, as the chains do break when colliding with the environment, as we'd mentioned. Technically, if a chain breaks on the environment, it does attempt to respawn and take another shot, but often this results in a chain that smacks the wall or just misses. If you do have to use the ability at one of these areas, my suggestion is to use the Summons of Pain right as a survivor throws a pallet, so you could break it while they make much less distance, or you could toss it at a window to make mind games a bit more effective and to gain just a little bit more distance. Please note that after you return from sending out a chain, there is a small 1.5 second cooldown before you can do actions like breaking pallets or vaulting, so just keep this in mind when doing any of the previously mentioned strategies. Ultimately, if you overplay or overuse your abilities at these tiles, survivors will definitely run you ragged. You'll need a solid knowledge of basic killer mind games, and you'll need to use the ability in a way that complements those mind games. The ability is not going to save you from being ran here. Lastly, you definitely can use the ability as a scouting tool, especially in indoor maps. Sending the portal out so that you could tell if walking to an area is a good use of your time or not can definitely turn the tides of a match. Just as before though, this needs to be done quickly and efficiently, or else it becomes a waste of time in and of itself. Now, we have the Lament configuration to talk about. Pinhead is unique to any other killer in that from the moment he spawns into a match, he puts pressure on the team to do more than just gens. The box undoubtedly is the most complex part of his kit, but you can manipulate it to your advantage. First, let's talk about box spawns and then detection. Now, it's worth noting that the Cenobite at base kit cannot see the box's aura, but you can hear the box. If you're within about 8 meters, it seems to make a static electricity jolting sort of sound, all right? You as the killer can often reasonably guess where the box spawns in and where it's at. From what I can deduce, and I could be wrong, the box spawns fairly far away from the killer, but also far enough from survivors. It never seems to spawn right under a survivor's feet. Unlike Pyramid Head cages, it tries to find an area where nobody is at currently before it spawns. Because of this, if you can keep track of where you last saw survivors or what gens they're probably on, you can reasonably guess the location. And anytime you find the box, a chain hunt starts. This slows gen progress, slows unhooking and healing, etc. Gives you a lot more pressure. A good example is right here. I hook the survivor and I auto-solve the box. With barbecue and chili, I determine everyone's on the opposite side of the map. So I take a stab at the idea that the box didn't spawn over there because it's too crowded, and that it actually spawned opposite all of us in its own little corner. In this way, where you are when the box spawns can potentially influence that spawn, so know your timings on how long it takes to respawn and in what situations. It is totally worth mentioning that Hoarder and Franklin's Demise both work with the box. Hoarder showing you if someone picked it up within 64 meters, and Franklin's to force them to drop it on M1. The caveat to Franklin's is that if you down the survivor, you don't auto pick up and solve the box. But this could be a good thing in some scenarios. If you'd prefer to hook the survivor and then pick it up and better maintain pressure, this is smart. Now, when it comes to teleporting to the box, you also have to consider a number of factors. A lot of smart survivors will pick up the box and wait for you to pick up a survivor to hook them, solving the box when you can't teleport. Or they'll move to a dead zone on the map with no gens or hooks, sort of to act as bait. Be aware of these scenarios. You have to assess whether it is smart to warp to the box or not. Are you pressuring your 3-gen currently? Would warping pull you away from it? Are you chasing someone near a hooked survivor? Consider all of these things before warping. Warping can often be a bad idea just as much as a good idea. Now, some survivors will try to solve the box when they're fairly close to you, 30, 40 meters. If this happens, try not to warp to the box. Warping to it pauses chain hunts and forces a 45-second wait before the box spawns again. What I suggest you do is send out a portal and chain the survivor. This will interrupt their attempt at solving. Then you can chase and down them, auto-solving the box and starting a chain hunt. Now, please do be careful here though. When someone's holding the box, nobody else has any threat of chain hunts. Everybody else is free to do what they want, work on gens, heal, and do as much as possible. So if you are going to pursue the person with the box, just be sure you do it very smart and be very efficient. Don't overplay it. I think that about sums up all my findings and strats for how to most maximize on Pinhead. If you overuse his abilities or you're just not efficient in your own chases, these are the biggest weaknesses, and that's going to be a tough thing to do. But if you can chew through the pallets, keep the pressure up, mind game, get the downs, then he's a pretty damn good killer. Of course, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Of course, we have lots of gameplay videos that are rolling out. Be sure to give those some love. Check us out on Twitch, and I will be praying to the entity to see you guys in our next videos.